Ça y est, on va retrouver Priscilla Sadien et Jagdish Joypal pour suivre la PNQ. C'est à vous, bonjour.
Bonjour Yannick, bonjour à tous. Merci, vous pouvez rejoindre nous pour cette séance de la PNQ. Jagdish Joypal à mes côtés. Bonjour Jagdish.
Bonjour Priscilla, auditeurs et internautes. Bonjour également.
Prix l'essence et diesel au cœur de cette PNQ du leader de l'opposition, Xavier Duval, qui questionne ministre commerce Dorine Chakori. Il en veut connaître si pour régler ban structure prix pour permettre une réduction de ban prix des ban produits pétroliers. Leader de l'opposition, on l'a aussi connaît si pour régler méthode d'approvisionnement pour un total de 16 milliards de roupies par an. Alors, l'IP aussi demande la ministre Chakori pour déposer une copie de l'accord d'achat avec Mercantile and Maritime Group. Nous rappelle qu'il prix l'essence Jagdish fin baissé le 6 octobre dernier, passant de 72 roupies 10 à 69 roupies, soit une baisse de 3 roupies 10. Et prix diesel fin augmenté de 60 à 63 roupies 95, soit une hausse de 3 roupies 15. Mais pour chaque litre diesel, MRE pour rembourse une catégorie d'opérateurs commerciaux qui risquaient de retrouver en situation de perte.
Alors Priscilla, la question de Xavier Duval en tant que chef de l'opposition, qui d'ailleurs l'idée ça donne une indication, il pour revenir à la charge concernant structure prix, produits pétroliers, qui est toujours contesté, surtout remet en question par différentes organisations qui défendent l'intérêt des consommateurs et surtout les contester parce qu'il y a différentes taxes qui imposées l'eau prix coûtant. Alors donc c'est les consommateurs qui pénalisés d'après l'association et aujourd'hui l'opposition qui revient donc pour guetter exactement est-ce que le gouvernement pour revoir une structure. Mais revenus qui généraient Priscilla le prix produit pétrolier, c'est-à-dire qui bénéficiait par State Trading Corporation, principale importatrice de ces produits-là, les subventions gaz, riz, et il y a toute la liste Road Development Authority, transport et stockage pour Rodrigue, subventions et pour Solidarity Fund, un moment concernant le vaccin, et aussi donc pour gérer la question de COVID-19, donc la crise sanitaire. Alors, coût administratif, Straight Trading Corporation, également concerné. Nous mentionnons transport de Rodrigue, dette qui STC énorme pour stabiliser ce fonds, pour capable au moins continuer dans les transactions de l'importation de produits pétroliers. Xavier Duval, il mentionne certains chiffres récemment. Il dit le diesel peut coûter nous 23 roupies à l'importation. L'essence peut coûter 20 roupies 54 et à l'importation dans le pot à produit. Et aujourd'hui, il peut vendre à 32 roupies un litre. Ce qui donc montrait qu'il y a, c'est-à-dire qu'il peut vendre à 69 roupies un litre et il y a 32 roupies de taxes là-dessus. Ce qui donc, il paraît que l'opposition et l'association considéraient que ces taxes certainement excessive.
Alors, sinon, Jagdish, 4 questions adressées à Pravin Jugnauth lors de la Prime Minister's Question Time. Un contrat qui est attribué à 2 sociétés par la Security Division du bureau du Premier ministre, l'exercice de réenregistrement de ban Kortsim, mais également le meurtre de Subramania Krishnan qui pour retenir à l'attention lors de la PMQT. Et Jagdish, côté ambiance, a noté l'absence de 4 membres de l'opposition, Paul Béranger, Rajesh Bhagwan, Patrick Assiavaden et Johanna Béranger, après une suspension-expulsion lors de la rentrée parlementaire la semaine dernière.
Ça a été.
Et à l'origine, donc, c'est une question de Patrick Assiavaden, le Correct Solar International.
Oui, c'était une séance très mouvementée mardi dernier pour la reprise des travaux. Donc, la séance, après 3 mois de vacances, avec 4 suspensions dans l'opposition, le 22 députés. Donc, ce qui affaiblit en quelque sorte l'opposition. La question de Patrick Assiavaden qui provoque ça, c'est là que le speaker peut dire il pas fini et attendre certaines remarques qui fait du côté du gouvernement et là finalement un genre d'épreuve de force, comment ça a souvent passé. Speaker peut dire pas peut respecter l'éthique parlementaire et n'a pas de mot député déplacé qui peut servir. Donc là, aujourd'hui, nous attendons qu'au moins, un député de l'opposition et du gouvernement ait un comportement beaucoup plus honorable pour que les travaux se déroulent en toute sérénité.
Alors, nous vous prenons tout de suite la direction de l'Assemblée nationale.
Announcements.
Honourable members, before we proceed with the business of the House today, I have two announcements to make. Firstly, following the point taken by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition at the sitting of Tuesday last regarding the wearing of face masks in the chamber, I have to inform the House that in view of the coming into operation of the quarantine COVID-19 restriction amendment regulations number 121 of 2023, on 4th September 2023, the wearing of masks in the chamber is now optional. Honourable members, I have another announcement to make following criticisms, comments made by some honourable members in the media with regard to the handling of questions in Parliament by the Chair. Honourable members, these comments, if not responded to, create the impression that honourable members are deprived of the opportunity to exercise their rights in a parliamentary democracy of putting questions and of doing their work. Honourable members are fully conversant with the provisions of Standing Order 22.2, which sets the time allocated for question time, and same is time bound. Moreover, honourable members have a legitimate expectation that their questions appearing on the notice of parliamentary questions are reached orally. Hence, the Chair has the duty to ensure that a maximum number of parliamentary questions are replied orally within the time prescribed, therefore, which automatically entails a judicious exercise of the number of supplementary questions to be allowed in line with the provisions of Standing Order 26. Now coming to the incident which arose at the sitting of Tuesday last, where the Honourable Asiavaden engaged himself into a vehement argument with the Chair regarding supplementary questions, honourable members will recall that at that material time, I had already announced the list of PQs which had been withdrawn, and also stated that time was over. Therefore, the Chair could by no means entertain the requests of the honourable member and any other honourable member for that matter. Honourable members will also recall that in the midst of that incident, the House had become unruly as MP Paul Béranger and MP Bagwan, who did not have any question standing in their names on that subject matter, deliberately chose to embark on an insulting spree towards the Chair, which was a departure from parliamentary convention and etiquette. As custodian of the privileges of the House, I would have failed in my duty had I not drawn the attention of the House to such derogatory conduct of some honourable members, and the House took the decision to sanction the said honourable members as it deemed appropriate. The honourable members take full responsibility of their overly exaggerated act, which was no doubt tantamount to grossly disorderly conduct, being aggressive, insulting, and contemptuous to the decorum of the House, and also challenge the authority of the Chair. Honourable members, as a Speaker, it is my duty to maintain a level of civility and decorum within the parliamentary setting. Such unbecoming behaviour from honourable members is most regrettable and brings Parliament into disrepute. I, once again, reassure the House that my decisions are always based on the same standing orders and rules, parliamentary practice, and with such authority with which I am endowed. I thank you for your attention.
papers. Papers have been laid. Questions?
Mr. Speaker, my question is addressed to the Honourable Minister of Commerce and Consumer Protection, whether in regard to the supply of gasoline and diesel, she will A, state if consideration will be given for reviewing, 1, respective price structures in order to reduce the retail prices thereof, and 2, procurement method thereof amounting to a total of 16 billion rupees annually, and B, table a copy of the purchase agreement with Mercantile and Maritime Group.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to thank the Honourable Leader of the Opposition for his private notice question, which gives me the opportunity to shed light on this very important subject, because lately there has been a lot of misunderstanding and confusion around this matter, either deliberately or not. Therefore, this PNQ is the occasion to set the record straight and put an end to all the speculations and unfounded arguments being ventilated. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to clarify that the contract for the supply of petroleum products is not for the amount of 16 billion rupees, as stated in the question, but for a total premium of 2.6 billion rupees over a year for the supply of about 700,000 tons of products, which comes to a premium of about 3 rupees per litre. Mr. Speaker, sir, the State Trading Corporation was incorporated in 1982 and started the importation of petroleum products in 1983. During its first year of operation in 1983, the STC's portfolio was enlarged by taking over 25% of the petroleum products imports, which until then had been fully controlled by the local oil companies. In 1984, the STC's share of petroleum imports was increased to 50% in the light of the significant savings in foreign currency and the positive impact on the balance of trade and the relative success in the stabilization of petroleum products prices. In the following year, in 1985, the STC was entrusted with the full import of petroleum products, and the local oil companies confined to the role of marketing distribution only. The price structure for mogas and gas oil is defined under the Consumer Protection Regulation 2011, the control of price of petroleum products. It is updated following each exercise undertaken for the fixing of the prices of mogas and gas oil. The detailed price structure is available on the website of the STC. The current price structure of mogas and gas oil comprises the following components: excise duty and VAT. Mr. Speaker, sir, mogas and gas oil are subject to 2 taxes, namely excise duty and VAT. These taxes are collected by the Mauritius Revenue Authority, the MRA, and remitted to the Consolidated Fund. The revenue collected from these taxes are used to finance both recurrent and capital expenditure of government. Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the objectives of this government is to redirect resources towards the needy section, the needy segment of the population. Each rupee collected from taxes is given back to the population. In fact, with the taxes collected, we are maintaining the welfare state by providing, amongst others, free education at all levels, from primary to tertiary level, and soon it will be extended to the pre-primary level. Free transport for our elderly and students, free health services, monthly pension to our elderly and other vulnerable group of a society, such as widows, orphans, and disabled persons. The contribution charged to consumers in the price structure are collected to meet social obligations towards the population. These contributions existed in the past, and we have maintained them. Contribution to the Road Development Authority. This contribution is used to part finance RDA's administrative expenditure, as well as to compensate public bus, both companies and individuals, for increase in fuel price and salaries with a view to maintain the bus fares. Any increase in the bus fares will have cascading impact on all sectors of the economy and may halt the increase in our economic growth trajectory. This contribution was introduced in September 1990. I am further informed that the contributions to these items were increased on several occasions, namely in October 2004, January 2006, April 2006, and July 2006. Contribution to roadworks, transportation, and storage. This contribution is used to subsidize the cost involved in transporting, storing, and distributing petroleum products, ration rice, flour, bag cement, and other products. The objective is to protect our brothers and sisters in roadworks so that the retail price in roadworks are kept at par with those prevailing in Mauritius. I am made to understand that this contribution was introduced in September 2000. Contribution to the construction of storage facilities for petroleum products. This contribution is for the construction of warehousing facilities for the storage of petroleum products. This item was introduced in November 2015. The rate is 65 cents per litre for mogas and 50 cents per litre for gas oil. From the funds collected, 75 million rupees have been invested in the construction of a storage facility, namely Mer Rouge Oil Storage Terminal, which has a storage capacity of 25,000 metric tons, out of which 15,000 metric tons is meant for mogas and 10,000 metric tons for gas oil. This has increased the buffer stock of the country by 30 days for mogas and 16 days for gas oil. In July 2021, an amount of 800 million rupees was transferred to the price stabilization account to avoid an increase in the retail price of mogas and gas oil. As at 30 June 2023, the balance of this contribution stood at 790 million rupees. Mr. Speaker, sir, the war between Russia and Ukraine, and now the disastrous situation which is developing in the Middle East concerning the war between Israel and Palestine, have brought to light the great risk of disruption of supply chain, including the movement of tankers of petroleum products. This clearly indicates that anything can happen at any time, with serious impact on prices as well as movement of products. This is a clear indication that the country should get ready to face such a situation if it arises. Given that Mauritius is a small island and the country relies entirely on importation for the procurement of petroleum products, this fund is earmarked for the construction of additional storage facilities for petroleum products to ensure security of supply. Contribution to subsidy on LPG, flour and rice. This contribution is used to finance the subsidy for the purchase.
10 minutes has already gone by. We are lenient, but 10 minutes has already gone by. She has not even started to answer the question.
I'm going to start soon.
I hope that you will give.
Don't worry.
She agrees that she has not started to answer the question.
No,
I hope
I'm
that
coming
you will,
to it.
That you will give extra time at least.
This item was introduced in April 2007. Our population is still benefiting from the subsidized price. On a 12 kg cylinder of cooking gas at the price of 240 rupees instead of the market price of 499 rupees. That is 52% lower than the market price. On rice, at the price of 10 rupee 80 per kilo, instead of a market price of 17.46 rupees per kilo. That is 38% lower than the market price. And on flour, at the price of 2 rupees 18 per half kilo to bakeries and 4.85 rupees per half kilo to non-bakeries, instead of a market price of 15.87 rupees per half kilo. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is noted that even with this contribution, which totals to around 3.7 billion rupees, government spends not less than 4.1 billion for all these subsidies. Mr. Speaker, sir, the price structure also provides for retail and wholesale margins to cover the operating costs for the distribution and retail of petroleum products by oil companies and petrol stations around the island. The revenue derived from each contribution is collected by the STC and remitted to the relevant authorities. Mr. Speaker, sir, all of the components of the price structure have been introduced in order to maintain affordable prices for essential commodities so that they are accessible particularly to people from the lowest income group. I am further made to understand that collection of taxes and other contributions from the sale of petroleum products is a general practice in most countries. It is actually a progressive collection of funds wherein those who use more are required to contribute more. It is a dynamic item and can be subject to review with time, depending on prevailing economic and social conditions. It would be, therefore, presumptuous at this stage to take a stand as to whether we will review the current price structure. Mr. Speaker, sir, it might be particular to state that removal of items would bring down the price of petroleum products, but we need to ask members of the other side of the House why they did not do it in the past, and also how we would continue financing the welfare state without these contributions, unless the members of the opposition are suggesting the removal of the financing of subsidy for the vulnerable segment of the population. This is not the policy of this government, which will ensure that at all times the vulnerable are cared for. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to part 2 of the question, I am informed that the State Trading Corporation launched on the 5th May 2023 an open international bid on the government e-procurement system for the supply of 4 grades of white oil, namely Mogas, gas oil, jet A1, and marine gas oil for a period 1st August 2023 to 31st July 2024. At the time of opening, 7 bids were received, and an evaluation exercise was carried out to determine the lowest responsive bidder. Eventually, this tender exercise was cancelled in view of a better offer received from Mercantile and Maritime Investment Private Limited, which included a more competitive premium price for all the 4 categories of products and other benefits not proposed by the lowest responsive offer. And in the tender exercise, I wish to highlight the fact that the STC is exempt from the provision of the Public Procurement Act since 2008 with respect to the purchase of goods for resale, including services incidental to the purchase or distribution of such goods. The STC may thus engage in direct purchase and/or negotiation with a seller for goods it purchases for resale, including white oil. Mr. Speaker, sir, the benefits that were to be reaped from the offer made by Mercantile and Maritime Investment Private Limited included, number 1, a lower premium that would enable saving of approximately 460 million rupees over the term of a 1-year contract, an improved cash flow for the STC based on the credit period of 60 days from the discharge date, allowing it to benefit in terms of interest costs payable to banks. Thirdly, a performance bond value of 15 million USD to be placed in the bank account of the STC to be called upon in case of non-performance in favor of the STC. Possibility of making payments to Mercantile and Maritime Investment Private Limited in Mauritian rupees instead of US dollars. Due to the negative impact of COVID-19 on the Mauritian foreign exchange, the forex market, the STC was facing difficulties in obtaining the required amount of US currency to pay its suppliers. Therefore, such an arrangement with Mercantile and Maritime Investment Private Limited would significantly reduce the USD requirements of the STC, which would in return lower the estimated interest cost of 250 million rupees payables to commercial banks. And lastly, US currency being made available for purchase by traders on the local market, as STC being one of the major USD buyers on the local market would not require same for payment to Mercantile and Maritime Investment Private Limited. Mr. Speaker, sir, in view of these benefits, the STC cancelled the tender exercise as per clause 21 of its bidding document, which inter alia reads as follows: that the STC reserves the right without thereby incurring any liability to bidders to accept or reject any bid and to annul the bidding process and reject all bids at any time prior to contract award. Following board approval obtained on the 29th June 2023, the STC proceeded with the allocation of a contract to Mercantile and Maritime Investment Private Limited. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regard to due diligence exercise, I am informed by the STC that it had carried out a due diligence exercise on the company and obtain its certificate of good standing, certificate of incorporation, and latest audited financial statements. The financial soundness of Mercantile and Maritime Investment Private Limited, incorporated and domiciled in Singapore, was assessed based on the audited financial statements for period ending 31st December 2021. The financial statements have been audited by UHY, Lee Sang Chan and Company, a Singapore and Co., a company, a Singaporean audit firm with more than 50 years' experience in auditing and other advisory services. In addition, a compliance check was carried out to assess the potential financial, regulatory, and reputational risks of the company. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am also informed that as per clause 19 of the present contract with Mercantile and Maritime Investment Private Limited, each shipment needs to be accompanied as a mandatory condition by a certificate of origin of a petroleum product to assess that same has not been procured in no way from a country under sanction by the United States, by the United Nations, the European nation, the United States of America, amongst others. This certificate has to be produced prior to arrival of the tanker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am also informed by the STC that Mercantile and Maritime Investment Private Limited is an experienced energy market operator incorporated in Singapore, providing international clients with a full range of services across the oil and gas value chain. It is specialized in the trading of physical oil and gas products, shipping and logistics, midstreams. The company has traded over 400 million barrels of crude and over 300 million barrels of oil products. Mr. Speaker, sir, as regard to the last part of the question, I wish to inform the House that the contract is a live one, and the Leader of the Opposition will concur that such major contracts are governed by a standard confidentiality clause. In order to render same public, we would need to have a concurrence of all parties involved under the contract, and unfortunately, we have not the time to consult the Mercantile and Maritime Investment Limited on same.
Order. Mr. Speaker, I am shocked by the last part of the Minister's answer, but I will also tell her that she's mistaken in terms of the contract for the purchase of petrol. You don't just pay MMG for the premium, you also pay them for the fuel they bring. Otherwise, they'll fight. So actually, the contract we paid to MMG is 16 billion rupees, and I'm sad that she didn't know that. Still, let me come to the first part of my question concerning the price structure. Now, one item, the price structure, has has increased substantially. It is a contribution for subsidy on rice, flour, and LPG. Now, there are two ways of dealing with this. One, either you put it in the consolidated fund, and the taxpayer still pays, and the money the prices are still low, or you put it in the price structure. But the minister will understand, I'm sure, that putting it in the price structure at 7 rupees 20, it was 22 rupees before, 7 rupees 20, has a cascading effect on inflation, has a cascading effect on other prices, and of course, high inflation also gives high interest rates. So one of the reasons for the high inflation is that the price structure includes items which should have been dealt with elsewhere than in the price of petrol. Do you understand what I'm saying? Why, therefore, I'm asking why she doesn't liaise with her colleague to see that these items which do not need to be in the price structure are dealt with in the consolidated fund.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I do understand what the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is saying, because I too, I've been teaching accounting for the past 27 years. And the contract to MM is for the supply of petroleum products, hence 2.6 billion rupees. And either it was with Mercantile or any other companies, would have to pay for the petrol. You agree with me, the leader of the opposition. So the contract is for the premium. And concerning, either we should have put this in other parts, of the price structure, but why you didn't do it when you were, the Minister of Finance or when you were the Deputy Prime Minister? It was like that. We are not inventing the wheel. It was like that for many years.
I just explained to the Minister, it was 2 rupees before. It was manageable. Now it's 7 rupees 20. It's a different issue. And 7 rupees 20 on a litre of petrol is a huge amount of money, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm sad that she didn't take that into account. I'm going to talk now ask the Minister about the famous price equalization account. With the Minister, I agree that this price equalization account, all it is, in fact, is accumulation of taxes that have been imposed on the price of petrol and diesel, in this case diesel, which have not been able to be passed on to the consumer. And that at no time in the history of Mauritius has petrol been purchased at a higher price than it has been sold. We'll therefore agree that this price equalization account needs to be abolished.
Just give me a minute, please. Concerning the price stabilization account, it was to control the price of petroleum products on the market. And otherwise, we would have to, on every consignment, either increase or decrease the price of petroleum products. And there was also a need to ensure economic recovery following the COVID.
Dr. Johnson, I asked you whether you agree that it is accumulation of excessive taxes, yes or no? That is...
No, we are not in a court of law. Yes or no, this is barrister's style. You are leader of the opposition and she's a minister. Let her reply.
No, it is not.
Mr. Speaker, I have to laugh. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to ask the Honourable Minister now. I'm going to ask the Honourable Minister now as to this contribution to construction of storage facilities, which up to date has collected 1.6 billion rupees from the sale of petrol, and the amount actually invested by the government in the Mauritius oil storage facility, is in fact 76 million rupees. So the excess amount claimed from the consumer petrol has in fact been claimed wrongly from the consumer. Therefore, will she agree to abolish this tax, which has already led to some 1.6 billion rupees entering into the coffers of government?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I just mentioned the importance of these storage facilities. I just mentioned that it is something very important. Due to war in Israel and other countries, in Ukraine, we have to ensure that in case something happens, that there is enough supply of petroleum products on the market. So it's a very important element. We can't abolish this.
It's been going on.
Excuse me. And out of 16.6 billion, 800 rupees was put back in the PSA.
800 million rupees was put back with the CSA and criticized by the Director of Audit because it was illegal. You forgot to mention that bit. Mr. Speaker, let me ask the Honourable Minister concerning this unsolicited bid that was received from the company MMG. It's an unsolicited bid after MMG took account of the result of the tender that happened, which was a public tender. The figures were open. MMG then offered a lower price. Why didn't the minister then either relaunch the tender, or the minister or her predecessor, I'm not sure who it was, relaunch the tender, or enter into a reverse auction, which is available, as she may know, in the e-procurement system of the Ministry of Commerce.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, what MMI proposed, MMG, right, was a very good deal for the country. Because with this, we have managed to save more than...
Allow the Minister, please. Decorum. Allow the Minister. Allow her to finish with her reply.
We have managed to save more than 700 million rupees with this contract. And, time was of essence. It was a good deal, so we took the deal. Because I gave you a list of, benefits that we were getting from this company.
I mentioned to the Minister the possibility in her own e-procurement system of a reverse auction where people can drop the price as much as possible, which would have allowed the other 7 to drop their prices if they wish to.
In fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, was the only companies who... In fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, MMG was the only companies which accepted to be paid in 2 Mauritian rupees. That's why we go for it. And I've given all the, the benefits that the country is going to derive from this contract.
Mr. Speaker, the question of the contract being made public is extremely important. As she will know, the tender document, the original tender document of May, is a public document. The bids that the tenderers make are also public and published by the ministry on the e-procurement system. Why is the famous deal with the MMG kept secret? Are we not to know what are the product specifications? Are we not to know at what rate of conversion the rupee, the dollar is going to be converted so that MMG are paid? Are we not to know all the details about this, the credit terms? You say it's 2 months. This is what you say. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, this House has seen molnupiravir, has seen packet blister, has seen the problems with the STC, and we do not trust.
Stick to your question. Reply, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sir, no other suppliers provide us such facilities for payment. We got 2 months credit. And also, we got to pay into Mauritian rupees, allowing us to save also 250 million interest, but otherwise we should have gone to pay to the banks. So it was a very good deal. And then maybe for you it's peanuts. Maybe for you it's peanuts, because we've seen that in 2 coffers there were 220 million kept at home. Maybe it's peanut for you. But for the population, it's for the population.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, I
haven't completed. I haven't finished my reply. And every saving is important after this period of COVID. Every saving, even 1 cent, is good for the country. So we had to accept this deal. It was a very good deal for the country.
Minister who doesn't know about the cost of the contract, who doesn't understand what is the price equalization account, who doesn't know anything about reverse auction, I found her attitude surprising. I'd like to ask the minister. She doesn't know yet. She is
Put your question. Don't make insinuation. Put question.
You allowed her to make insinuation.
It's already over.
Time is over because you took 22 minutes, Mr. Speaker. That's why time is over. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask Honorable Minister. I had my doubts about this NMG. Now that she's refusing to publish the information, to publish a contract, I and many people in Mauritius will be compelled to believe that there is anguille sous roche in that contract, and that is why she is not publishing it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I have not refused to publish the contract. I've said that there is a confidentiality clause, right? And we need to get the agreement of both parties. And the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, as an accountant, he knows nicely the confidentiality clause in any contract. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Last question. Put your last question.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. This is the question I'm going to ask her. If you consider the price of petrol in Mauritius, it's at $1.6 per liter. I'm talking about Mogas. And this is approximately the same amount that the UK consumer or the European consumer will pay for their liter of petrol. Yet the salaries of these persons are about five times. About five times the price, the salary of the Mauritian.
Leader of the opposition, I am on my feet. Respect the decorum in this house. I am on my feet. You have no right.
Stop shouting. What am I doing wrong?
I should give you permission to continue with your question only. Yes. No comments. Question.
What am I doing wrong? Are you asking her whether she's aware?
Put your question. No comments. Last question. Time is going.
I will put my question again. Last question. Given that the price of petrol here, the retail price of Mogas, is equivalent to $1.6 per liter, this compares about the same to what a European, USA it's even cheaper, European or English consumer is paying. And does she know that these consumers earn about 5 times more on average than the Mauritian? Will she agree?
Leader of the opposition, I don't allow this question. This is demagogy. This is demagogy. This is not factual. This is demagogy from your part. I don't allow this question. If you want to reply to the first part, it's okay. The second part is demagogy.
Yes. You know, I want to reply, Mr. Speaker, sir.
The first part you may go.
Yes, the first. Yes. You know, Honorable Mr. Speaker, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, we have to compare like with like. This is what I teach to my students in accounting. We have to compare like with like. And you're comparing us with, UE comes from highest, with highest PNQ. Why don't you compare us with Seychelles, our neighbor just close by, and see how much they are paying?
Order.
You see?
Order. Decorum. Order. Parliamentary democracy. Carry on, Honorable Minister.
So we have to compare like with like, Mr. Speaker, sir. Okay, and we cannot compare ourselves with countries who are producers. Thank you.
Et voilà donc pour cette séance de la PNQ de Xavier Duval, donc qui tient accès l'eau prix l'essence et diesel. Xavier Duval fait une question la ministre du Commerce Dorine Chakori pour connaître si pour régler ban structure prix pour permettre une réduction de ban prix de ban produits pétroliers. Leader de l'opposition qui tient aussi ou les connaît si pour régler méthode d'approvisionnement pour un total selon lui de 16 milliards de roupies par an. Elle aussi demande la ministre s'il peut déposer une copie de l'accord d'achat avec Mercantile and Maritime Group. Alors d'abord, Jagdish, au cours de la réponse de la ministre Dorine Chakori, les Findiens qui finissent beaucoup de confusion autour de la question des prix des produits pétroliers. Les Findiens tenir à clarifier ce qui, selon Xavier Duval, indique qui le contrat d'approvisionnement, les 16 milliards de roupies, Dorine Chakori dit que c'est en fait 2,6 milliards de roupies pour pour environ 700 000 tonnes. Alors, Dorine Chokori fin aussi révine l'urban structure prix, donc l'urban composant, il fin justifier la structure de ban prix actuelle et il fin expliquer comment ban revenu donc redistribué à la population à travers ban différentes subsides et il fin aussi expliquer qu'il nous fin subir de plein fouet la guerre en Ukraine, qu'il nous fin subir la guerre donc en Ukraine. Et en ce qui concerne l'allocation du contrat à Mercantile and Maritime Group, Dorine Chokori dit qu'il fin d'abord quand il lance l'appel d'offres, il gagne 7 soumissionnaires donc pour l'approvisionnement en produits pétroliers. Il dit qu'en fait fin cancel ça l'appel d'offres là. Et parce qu'il fin gagne ben bénéfice qui peut proposer par Mercantile and Maritime Group. Alors parmi les raisons qu'il fin évoquer, c'est qu'il s'agit pour permettre ça l'offre là pour permettre économise 460 millions de roupies lors un contrat d'une année. Alors allocation de ce contrat là à Mercantile and Maritime Group, Dorine Chokori fin dire que la STC fin faire un exercice due diligence et qui fin démontrer que le groupe en question est crédible. Mais Xavier Duval fin de ce côté donc fin dire qu'il y a trop beaucoup de taxes qui rentraient dans la structure des prix, les fins notamment qui abolit une taxe en ce qui concerne contribution pour construction de bonnes facilités de stockage de bonnes produits pétroliers. Et Xavier Duval fin aussi insister pour que la ministre dépose une copie de l'accord d'achat avec Mercantile and Maritime Group, mais la ministre donc de ce côté fin maintenir donc que il y a une clause de confidentialité. Jagdish.
Oui, justement, donc le contrat pas pour rendre public parce qu'il y a une clause de confidentialité dans le sens que les deux parties sont d'accord pour rendre public un tel contrat. Alors là, c'est un nouveau contrat que le gouvernement, la State Trading Corporation, a ratifié pour l'importation des produits pétroliers pour l'année 2023-2024. C'est qu'Xavier Duval, alors d'abord la ministre qui fait une première fois, depuis nommé ministre, il y a à peine environ, et peut-être depuis le 30 août, alors donc première fois, il peut répondre à une question et une question très principale, c'est-à-dire la private notice question. Il fait un relevé de différentes taxes également, il justifier comment l'argent qui peut recueillir par ces différentes taxes-là peut répartir au niveau de la société, au niveau du welfare state, comment une partie de bonnes taxes qui est recueillie par Mauritius Revenue Authority, le département des taxes, donc ça va un revenu-là, les verser dans Consolidated Fund du gouvernement pour financer un projet de développement. Alors, il rappelle que STC existait depuis 1982-83 et là, aujourd'hui, il est entièrement indépendante pour importer un produit pétrolier. Alors, Xavier Duval, il demande abolition de la taxe concernant et surtout la question de storage facilities, c'est-à-dire facilités de stockage. Et le ministre il répond qu'il déjà nous a un moyen qu'il met en place pour c'est-à-dire pour stocker les produits pétroliers pour un certain nombre de périodes, même pas de difficultés, qui pourraient à l'avenir de pouvoir faire face. Mais Xavier Duval peut faire rappel que l'investissement du gouvernement, les 76 millions de roupies dans les facilités de stockage, alors que la taxe il rapporte 1,6 milliard de roupies. Donc, il dit que ça l'argent en plus là coûte puis aller, retourne-les, donc abolit, c'est-à-dire le Storage Facilities Tax, pour qui le consommateur pas continuer à payer. Maintenant, la question, la ministre peut dire qu'il quand même, nous devons prévoir encore peut-être d'autres facilités pour l'avenir parce que la situation internationale, la guerre, l'Ukraine, l'Israël, les pose des difficultés pour l'avenir. Donc, gouverner, c'est un peu, ce que le ministre sous-entendu, c'est prévoir. Donc, prévoir. Et là, c'est la question de 2,6 milliards qui est mentionnée dans la PNQ du leader de l'opposition, Lily mentionne 16 milliards, mais la ministre mentionne 2,6 milliards. Xavier Duval, il revient sa chiffre là pour dire c'est globalement le coût importation, paiement qui fait, alors pour lui, il atteint 16 milliards d'euros. Voilà donc en quelque sorte, c'est-à-dire nous dans une situation que nous pas pour capable, le gouvernement paraît trouver comme si après la réponse que prenait une baisse du prix des produits pétroliers et surtout qui l'argent peut recueillir pour financer les autres projets et aussi pour financer le transport à Rodrigue, le finance aussi les produits de consommation courante comme un gaz ménager, le riz et la farine.
Alors, sinon, Jagdish, en première partie de cette PNQ, le speaker fin revient à l'incident qui finit là avec Patrick Assiavaden, mais aussi l'auban sanction qui finit prend contre Paul Béranger, Rajesh Bhagwan et Johanna Béranger. L'idée qui s'auban décision est toujours basée l'auban standing orders et l'autorité qui finit confiée.
Oui, alors l'IP basé, le standing orders concernant et surtout, mais concernant d'abord, il fait la question de masque, beaucoup d'interventions.
Pas encore.
Pas encore,
Ouais.
donc les dire qu'il le port du masque
optionnel.
à l'intérieur de l'hémicycle dans le Parlement, il reste toujours optionnel. Deuxième annonce qu'il fait, c'est surtout il fait nous les set the record right to straight, c'est-à-dire il fait référence à la section 22.2 des standing orders qu'on a besoin au moins et respecter le décorum de l'Assemblée, de dire qu'il bien souvent il y a un commentaire très véhément qui fait, un argument véhément qui est exprimé. Et là, parfois, quand le speaker a trouvé que le temps est écoulé, il n'est pas capable de permettre une question additionnelle. Il fait référence à Patrick Assiavaden qui voulait poser une question additionnelle alors que le speaker, tu finis de dire que l'heure est finie, expirée, écoulée. Alors donc, c'est d'après lui, c'est ce devoir de maintenir le décorum et il lance un appel pour qu'il y ait beaucoup plus de respect et de civilité. Et donc, il dit à la police, c'est très regrettable ce qui peut passer, mais seulement là, le règlement d'après lui pour continuer à respecter. Et d'ailleurs, nous trouvons, et Priscilla Finena, un peu d'étincelle concernant les produits pétroliers avec la question, dernière partie de la question de Xavier Duval à la ministre.
Oui, ben voilà, c'est qui amène nous à la fin, donc pour ce compte rendu de la séance de la PNQ. Jagdish Joypal, merci beaucoup, c'était un plaisir.
Oui, merci, également un plaisir. Donc, c'est-à-dire les travaux parlementaires, la séance continue, il y a 4 questions. Et là, nous constatons, Priscilla, le nombre de questions adressées au Premier ministre, il réduit. Habitué, il y en a 17 peut-être, la semaine dernière, réduire à 4 parce que 30 minutes, le Premier ministre pas arrivé à répondre à pas plus qu'il y a une ou deux questions. Donc, une question, pas nécessairement l'opposition peut penser aux besoins posés. Alors que côté le ministre, aussi, il a un grand nombre de questions pour répondre donc aux députés de l'opposition.
Alors, oui,
également aux députés backbenchers du gouvernement.
Bien sûr, Jagdish. Alors, lors de la Prime Minister's Question Time, ça va une question qui est là, c'est contrat qui est attribué à 2 sociétés par Security Division du bureau du Premier ministre, l'exercice de réenregistrement de Bankard Sim, mais également le meurtre de Subramania Krishnan qui pour retenir l'attention. Autant donc pour cette séance de la PNQ, donc à suivre de larges extraits dans le journal de 13h qui pour présenter par Dushila Mansingh.